Hey, good morning, everyone. I wish I had better news for you, but I don't. Take a look over here. You can see that the road remains closed. This is at the northbound ramp of the Southwest Freeway connecting to the northbound 610 West Loop. Again, it remains closed, and this is because a truck, as you mentioned right there, Catherine, is stuck under the overpass. Again, police have blocked off the 59 northbound ramp to the 610 interchange. And of course, as the traffic is picking up here this morning, this is creating major delays for commuters trying to get to the Galleria area. You can see that that truck apparently misjudged the height of the load it was carrying as it attempted to drive under this overpass. This happened around 10:30 last night, and since then, crews have been out here trying to move this truck with, well, not a whole lot of success. Right now, there is a big rig tow truck out here standing by to get this flatbed truck off the road so that drivers can get moving. As soon as that happens, we'll let you know. For now, we're live in Southwest Houston. John Fenoglio, 13 Eyewitness News. A gruesome discovery here in the shallow, murky waters in this drainage ditch that you see behind me right here. Now, homicide investigators are trying to piece together what happened. Well, firefighters are just now beginning to mop up this big fire. You can see some of these guys right here. They're trying to catch their breath. They've been hydrating because it is hot out here, and this was a tough fire. That heat advisory has actually just been extended to parts of Houston, and if you're out in it, you don't need me to tell you how uncomfortable it is. The temperature right now on Galveston Island is only in the mid-90s, but it feels like it's almost 110. Now, you know it's a hot news day when we break out the heat gun here, so out on the jetty where I'm standing right now, the temperature reads 117 degrees. It is good news. Former President George H.W. Bush expected to be okay. Now, today, we've learned that he's being kept in the hospital as a precautionary measure. Here's what we know right now. This was a tense standoff between an armed man and SWAT officers that lasted all night long. That suspect is now in custody, and police have just completed a walkthrough of this crime scene. Now, just before we went to air, we got response from the city who tells us that crews are still on the way. They say that they're going to try to minimize the disruption to residents and homeowners here, saying that these repairs, when the water is shut off, these repairs should take no more than 4 hours. And of course, as much of a headache as this is for residents out here, the city wants everyone to remember that these water main breaks range in priority, and they say that even though this one may look bad, it's really not that bad in the grand scheme of things. In fact, they say they have over 7,000 miles of pipelines under the city, and at any given time, there could be anywhere from 200 to 250 water main breaks. How they respond to those depends on the size and the severity. Right now, again, they say this one is not so severe. They do say crews are on the way. We haven't seen them yet, but we'll let you know as soon as we do. For now, we're live in Southwest Houston. John Fenoglio, 13 Eyewitness News. Hey, good evening, Art and Natasha. Yeah, FM 523 is now open following this deadly crash earlier this morning. A collision that was so bad it took DPS investigators more than 6 hours to comb over some 200 yards of broken glass and twisted metal. And it was on the stretch of road where early this morning a young man lost his life just before dawn.
Beyond the trees in front of Rick Ramsey's home sits what appears to be a quiet country road. But during rush hour,
it is constant traffic, just bumper to bumper because of the chemical plants that are trying to get men and women are trying to get to work and get home from work. So it's going both ways.
And it was here shortly before 5:30 this morning when Ramsey says he awoke to a chilling and all too familiar sound.
Metal. I mean, you could literally hear the metal bam.
According to DPS, 25-year-old Seth Williams was traveling northbound on FM 523 in his Volkswagen hatchback.
From what witnesses have told us, he was more than halfway into the opposing lane of traffic.
DPS says they believe it's a trip Williams has made many times.
Well, but from what I found out, Mr. Williams, he was coming from work, so I don't believe he was on drugs. There's no drugs that were in his car, no alcohol in the car.
And so what could have caused Seth Williams to veer into oncoming traffic on a road police believe he's traveled before? Did he fall asleep? Was he reaching for something? Rick Ramsey has a theory.
As you see, as you make this curve here, it's a kind of a tree line, so you don't see until they're right here at the heart of the curve. And so if they're moving fast, they're on top of you before you can make any changes.
And changes are what Ramsey says need to be made on this particular stretch of road.
all these trees really need to be cut down where you can see the lights.
Yeah.
We've seen at least 4 or 5 deadly wrecks here on this same curve.
Now, DPS investigators weren't able to give us specific information on the number of accidents on this stretch of road, but Art, Natasha, one need look no further than this memorial right here to know that on this curve in the road, history is likely to repeat itself. We're live in Brazoria County. John Fenoglio, 13 Eyewitness News. Hey, good evening, everyone. Yeah, that heat advisory has actually just been extended to parts of Houston, and if you're out in it, you don't need me to tell you how uncomfortable it is. The temperature right now on Galveston Island is only in the mid-90s, but it feels like it's almost 110. Now, you know it's a hot news day when we break out the heat gun here, so out on the jetty where I'm standing right now, the temperature reads 117 degrees.
It's hard to stay cool. Just, get under an umbrella, try your best.
Yes, it's hot in southeast Texas in the middle of the summer. No surprise there, but just because you're used to it doesn't mean you should ignore the danger.
Heat illness is something that people need to be concerned about because it's something that can come on quickly.
And like any good public health official, Scott Packard will tell you that prevention is the best medicine.
Drink plenty of water, 2 to 4 cups an hour at minimum.
Christian Trejo knows the drill.
With this weather, it's necessary to stay hydrated.
You can really feel it out here, huh?
Yeah, you can really feel it.
He and his family are visiting from Atlanta, and he says he learned the hard way about not wearing enough sunscreen.
Your back hurts. It starts like burning up.
That's just after a few minutes, huh?
Yeah, that's just after a few minutes.
Do y'all think it's hot? No. No.
But this mom isn't taking any chances. Her girls are wearing shirts, applying sunscreen every time they come out of the water, and taking plenty of breaks in the shade.
She's got her shirt off. Does she wear baby sunscreen?
She wears lots of baby sunscreen. We'll get her lubed up here in a second.
Just a friendly reminder that a little common sense goes a long way on a hot summer day in Texas.
And back here live now on Galveston Island. As Tim mentioned earlier in weather, it's not so much the heat as it is the humidity that's causing the National Weather Service to issue all these heat advisories. Now, there's one more point that bears repeating. If you think it's hot out here, just imagine how hot it is inside your vehicle. In fact, after just about 20 or 30 minutes, the temperature inside your car can increase by 20 or 30 degrees. And that can be potentially deadly for your pets, for your loved ones, kids left inside the car. So again, never leave anything inside the car when it's this hot outside, even with the windows cracked. We're live in Galveston. John Fenoglio, 13 Eyewitness News. Hey, good day, everyone. A gruesome discovery here in the shallow, murky waters in this drainage ditch that you see behind me right here. Now, homicide investigators are trying to piece together what happened. This is video of the scene we captured minutes after police arrived just around 8:30 this morning. And when they did, they saw what they say is not an unfamiliar sight. A man's body floating here in the water. Now, police describe this man as a Hispanic male between the ages of 20 to 30 years old. Beyond that, there are few details behind this man's identity. However, homicide detectives are working this scene, and they tell us gunshots were reported around 7 p.m. last night. And it is those details that will help them determine when this happened and if this man was murdered or if this was just a terrible accident.
No, he hasn't been here very long. Doesn't appear to be over here more than 12 hours. So that puts the gunshots that were heard at 7 p.m. last night right about that time. But we find no shell casings and we find no weapons. So.
Back here live to the scene, the police tape just came up moments before we went to air, and moments before we went to air, the Houston Fire Department dive team fishing the man's body out of this water. Now, the process of trying to identify who he was and what he was doing before he turned up in the water. For now, we're live in Southwest Houston. John Fenoglio, 13 Eyewitness News. Yeah, well, good morning, everyone. It is good news. Former President George H.W. Bush expected to be okay. Now, today, we've learned that he's being kept in the hospital as a precautionary measure. Here's what we know right now. The 91-year-old former president suffered a fall. He was taken by ambulance to the hospital and is being treated for a fractured C2 vertebrae. He will not need surgery, and he was fully conscious throughout the entire incident. President Bush and First Lady Barbara Bush were vacationing at their summer home in Kennebunkport, Maine. Mrs. Bush Bush, we're told, was right there by his side through it all. Doctors also saying that his condition is stable. Now, it's unclear how Mr. Bush fell, but this is not the first time he's had to go to the hospital due to health problems. The president has a form of Parkinson's, which requires him to use a wheelchair. Now, last December, he was hospitalized in Houston for shortness of breath, also hospitalized in 2012 for a similar respiratory issue. But Bush, 41, the nation's oldest former president and Houston resident, has not let his age or injury or health dampen his spirits or slow him down. Just last June, the former commander-in-chief went skydiving for his 90th birthday, a jump he's made several times since leaving the White House. The president's granddaughter, Jenna, tweeting today, "Thanks for your prayers for our dear Gramps. We are optimistic that he will heal well." President Obama also optimistic. He called former President Bush this morning to wish him well. No word yet on when Mr. Bush will be released. We do know that he will have to wear a neck brace for at least a couple of months, but we're told the president says he expects to be back in Texas before the start of football season. Hey, good morning, everybody. Well, firefighters are just now beginning to mop up this big fire. You can see some of these guys right here. They're trying to catch their breath. They've been hydrating because it is hot out here, and this was a tough fire. Now, let's get straight to some of this video we shot earlier. You can see that the blaze was really moving early this morning, and this is what it looked like when firefighters arrived. Huge flames pouring out of the front of this home. We're told flames as high as 30 feet at one point. Now, knocking this fire out was made more difficult by the fact that there are no hydrants anywhere nearby, which meant crews had to lay at least a couple hundred yards of hose lines and rely solely on their tanker trucks to get water on this fire. Now, fortunately, the couple who lives inside this 5-bedroom home escaped unharmed. They tell us that the fire started on the side of their detached garage, then quickly leapt onto the side of their home. Back here live now at the scene, we can tell you that arson investigators have arrived. They are going to be going inside to try to determine the cause of this fire. Right now, at least one crew is inside putting water on hot spots. As soon as it's safe to go inside, arson investigators are going to go in there and bring us some more details. We are working the scene to bring you the latest information, and we're going to do just that as soon as we have it. So stay with us. We'll bring you another update soon. For now, we're live in North Harris County. John Fenoglio, 13 Eyewitness News. Hey, good morning, everyone. This was a tense standoff between an armed man and SWAT officers that lasted all night long. That suspect is now in custody, and police have just completed a walkthrough of this crime scene. Now, police tell us that this was an aggravated burglary suspect that was under surveillance before this standoff and shootout went down. Now, police say they chased the suspect to this residence here on the 10,200 block of Tangiers Road. Investigators also tell us that when that suspect barged into the home, someone was already inside. That person, fortunately, was able to escape. That's when police swarmed this house and ordered the man to surrender.
There were repeated attempts to try to get him to exit the residence, and obviously the deployment of tear gas canisters is just one of the means that the SWAT team has to utilize to be able to get someone to comply to exit whenever they're not able to.
But it didn't end there. A SWAT team then entered the home with their weapons drawn. The suspect barricaded himself in the attic. Police tell us that as officers attempted to pull the drawstring of the attic down, the suspect fired on officers. Officers returned fire before retreating, and more tear gas was fired into the attic. That's when police say the suspect fell through the roof. That suspect was finally apprehended. Police tell us that no one, neither the suspect or any of their officers, were injured in this shootout. We're live in Northwest Houston. John Fenoglio, 13 Eyewitness News. Well, Art, you know what? The trash has been picked up, the paper has been delivered, and the water gushing out of the middle of the pavement, well, that's still happening too. This is happening here in the center of the road, all the way by the curb, by the gutter. This is a big water main break, and for the 4th day in a row, this water continues to flow here on the 1100 block of Pembridge Drive, but that's expected to change this morning. At least that's what residents here are hoping. We are told that crews will turn the water off sometime this morning to make repairs to this water main break, and residents say that can't happen soon enough. The folks I've been speaking with tell me they are worried about this water being wasted, about the structural integrity of the pavement where this water has been flowing. Some sections of the pavement have already separated, parts of the curb already crumbling from days of rushing water carving through the cement. And the big question, of course, is when will the water be turned off for repairs and how long will it last? Now, I did speak with one resident who says he spoke with a representative from the Department of Public Works yesterday.
A guy from the city was guessing that it was from about this house down to the end of the block all on that side.
Those are the homes that'll be affected when the water shut off, correct?
That's what he was guessing, yes. It's a lot of water, and we need it during the summer.
Now, just before we went to air, we got response from the city who tells us that crews are still on the way. They say that they're going to try to minimize the disruption to residents and homeowners here, saying that these repairs, when the water is shut off, these repairs should take no more than 4 hours. And of course, as much of a headache as this is for residents out here, the city wants everyone to remember that these water main breaks range in priority. And they say that even though this one may look bad, it's really not that bad in the grand scheme of things. In fact, they say they have over 7,000 miles of pipelines under the city, and at any given time, there could be anywhere from 200 to 250 water main breaks. How they respond to those depends on the size and the severity. Right now, again, they say this one is not so severe. They do say crews are on the way. We haven't seen them yet, but we'll let you know as soon as we do. For now, we're live in Southwest Houston. John Fenoglio, 13 Eyewitness News. Hey, good morning, gang. How are you? We are gearing up for game time here outside the Toyota Center. Game 7. Who'd have thought the Rockets would have made it here after being down 3-1? Well, with that success, of course, comes a lot of excitement by fans who are gearing up for game time as well, and they are here spending their hard-earned dollars at a lot of local businesses, and those local businesses are excited because they are looking to cash in on all that fan excitement.
I mean, normally we have more time to set up, but this one's kind of on crunch time, so we're just all pulling extra hours, pulling together, doing everything we can, trying to make it happen, and, you know, just kind of not sleeping too much and getting ready for that, you know, for the excitement.
All right, well, you heard it right there. They're gearing up for big crowds. It's still pretty early, so we haven't seen any of those huge crowds just yet, but we have seen a few people coming in and out. We're going to be talking to those folks later on. We're also going to let you know the big question on everybody's mind right now is, will it rain? We're hoping that the rain will stay away so that we can have a big party out here. We'll keep you posted on all of that later on in the broadcast. For now, live in front of the Toyota Center, John Fenoglio, 13 Eyewitness News. Hey, good morning, everyone. Yeah, fans out here asking them how they feel about Arian Foster's absence. Well, it's kind of like asking a barber if you need a haircut. These fans out here, to no surprise, still have high hopes for their Texans. But the big question still remains, what is the team to do without its most valuable offensive player?
I think we're still pretty solid at our receivers, our defensive backs, our defensive line, our linebackers. We're a pretty deep team.
This season, the Texans will have to rely heavily on a backup backfield now that Arian Foster likely won't see a practice field until after Week 6. The Texas running back suffering from a groin injury during a pass play on Monday. So, who will take his place?
I'm thinking Alfred Blue's going to step up a little bit. I like how he did last year. I'm hoping he progressed a little bit more in the offseason. I think he's going to do pretty well this year.
But can Blue move the chains like Foster?
He's a good, strong back. He can power through some tackles. I think he's going to do pretty well.
Blue may well be able to sneak between the tackles, but again, not like Foster. Chris Polk and Jonathan Grimes also in the wings to pick up the slack.
I don't think we're going to be in trouble. Arian was injured last year. We ended up coming back.
That's true.
You know, he'll be out. Hopefully he'll recover quicker than, you know, what they're expecting him to recover, and I think we're going to do fine. Also needing to be fine this year will be Texans defense, of course, with all these shakeups here on their offense. The Texans head to Richmond, Virginia on Thursday to practice against Washington, of course, without Arian Foster. We're live at Texas training camp. John Fenoglio, 13 Eyewitness News.